The throne hall was larger than any human city square. Its ceiling curved like the inside of a shell, glowing with soft blue light. Tall alien banners hung from the walls, each marked with symbols older than Earth's oldest nations. At the far end, on a raised platform of black stone, sat the queen. She did not move. Everyone else did. Guards shifted their weight. Advisors whispered behind long sleeves. Nobles leaned away from the center of the hall, as if the space itself was dangerous. In that open space stood one human. His name was not important to them. To the court, he was only the human volunteer. He wore plain clothing. His boots were worn. His hands were scarred, not from ceremony, but from work. He stood straight anyway, eyes forward, waiting. A metallic voice echoed across the hall. "Human, you will wear the armor." Two attendants rolled a platform forward. On it rested a battle chute made for war among the stars. It was tall, heavy, and dark, with sharp lines and glowing seams. Alien armor, not made for humans, not meant to be worn in a throne hall. The human looked at it, then looked at the queen. She watched him closely. Her eyes were calm, ancient, and cold. She said nothing. He nodded once. The attendant stepped back. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons. The hall fell quiet as the human reached for the armor. Piece by piece, he began to put it on. First, the boots. They locked around his legs with a low hum. The metal adjusted itself, shrinking slightly to fit his shape. A murmur ran through the crowd. Alien armor did not usually adapt so easily. Next came the chest plate. It sealed over his body with a soft click. Lights along the surface blinked, then settled into a steady glow. The human breathed slowly. He did not rush. He did not look afraid. The queen leaned forward just a little. The final piece was a backplate. An attendant hesitated. "Your Majesty," they whispered, "the armor requires." "Proceed," the queen said. The attendant swallowed and reached for the release. The human lifted his arms. The backplate rose into the air, slowly rotating. As it moved into place, the cloth on the human's back slipped down. Skin was revealed, and on that skin was a tattoo. It was large, dark. Sharp lines cross and curve in a pattern that looked simple at first, but the longer one stared, the deeper it seemed. The mark looked old, yet fresh, like it had always been there. The throne hole froze. No whispers, no movement. Even the lights seemed to dim. The queen stood up. It was the first time many in the hall had ever seen her do so. Her eyes locked onto the tattoo. Her breath caught. For a brief moment, the mask of control slipped, and something else appeared on her face. Fear. One of the nobles dropped to their knees. Another stepped back and nearly fell. A guard made a sign meant to ward off evil. The human did not see any of this. He felt only the armor settling against his back, felt the metal stop moving. "Is something wrong?" he asked, his voice steady. No one answered. The queen took one slow step forward. Then another. Her voice, when she spoke, was low. "That mark," she said, "where did you get it?" The human frowned slightly. "I was born with it." A sharp sound ran through the hall, half gasp, half cry. The queen stopped walking. She stared at the mark as if it might move, as if it might speak. "That is not possible," she said. The human turned his head, confused. "It's just a tattoo." "It is not," the queen said softly. She raised one hand. At once, the guards moved, surrounding the human in a loose circle. Their weapons were raised, but their hands shook. The human noticed then. "Hey," he said, calm but elate, "I didn't come here to cause trouble." "You came here because you were chosen," the queen replied, "even if you do not know why." The tattoo began to feel warm. The human shifted his shoulders. "Something's eating up back here." A faint glow traced the lines of the mark. Not bright, just enough to be seen. An advisor rushed forward. "Your Majesty, the records." "I know," the queen said. She looked at the human again, really looked at him. His posture, his eyes, the quiet patience in the way he stood while surrounded by fear. "How many humans carry this mark?" she asked. The human thought for a moment. "None that I know of." Silence fell again. The queen's voice dropped to a whisper, but it carried through the hall. That mark belongs to a legend, she said, to a war that ended before my people learned to fear properly. The human blinked. I don't know anything about wars like that. That is what frightens me most, the queen replied. The glow faded. The tattoo went dark again, like ink on skin. The queen straightened. Her face became calm once more, but the fear did not fully leave her eyes. Take him to the inner chambers, she ordered. Guard him. Do not harm him. The guard hesitated. I said, the queen repeated, do not harm him. They obeyed. As the human was led away, he looked back once. The queen was still watching him, her gaze fixed on his back. When the whole doors closed, she finally spoke the words no one wanted to hear. That mark should not exist, she said. And somewhere deep beneath the palace, ancient systems began to wake. The inner chambers were silent. The walls were smooth and pale, glowing softly like moonlight on stone. No banners, no windows. Only God standing a careful distance from the human, as if he might break reality by breathing too hard. He sat on a low bench, hands resting on his knees. The armor had been removed, piece by piece, but the feeling of warmth on his back had not fully faded. He reached behind him and touched the tattoo. It felt normal. Just skin. So what now? He asked. No one answered. Outside the chamber, the queen stood with her advisors. The doors were sealed. Her expression was controlled, but her fingers trembled slightly as they rested on her staff. The scanners confirmed it. One advisor said, the mark is real. Another shook their head. It cannot be. The blood marks were erased. Every record. Everybody. They were believed erased, the queen replied. Belief is not truth. A third advisor leaned closer. Your Majesty, if the other powers learn of this. They will, the queen said. Soon. Inside the chamber, the human stood and paced slowly. He was used to waiting. He had waited in worse places than this. Still, something felt different. Heavy, like the air before a storm. A guard finally spoke, voice tight. You must remain where you are. I am, the human replied calmly. I'm just walking. The guard did not relax. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Once, twice. Deep beneath the palace, ancient systems responded to a signal they had not received in centuries. Old machines stirred. Data long locked away began to move. In a dark archive chamber, symbols flared to life on a forgotten screen. The mark, the same shape, the same lines. An alarm whispered through sealed halls, not loud enough for panic, but enough to alert those who knew what to fear. Back in the inner chamber, the human stopped walking. He felt it again. Warmth, stronger this time. He pulled his shirt up slightly and looked over his shoulder. The tattoo glowed faintly, like embers under ash. Well, he muttered, that's new. The chamber doors opened. The queen entered alone. The guard stepped back at once. She stopped a few steps away from him, eyes never leaving the mark. You should be afraid, she said. He lowered his shirt. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be afraid of. That makes you more dangerous, she replied. She circled him slowly, like a scholar studying a rare weapon. That mark, she said, belongs to a time before empires learned to lie about history. I didn't choose it, the human said. No, the queen agreed. It chose you. She raised her staff. A projection appeared in the air, faded images, broken records, fragment of a past deliberately destroyed. Long ago, she said, humans crossed the stars not as conquerors, but as problem solvers. The human watched silently. You fought wars no one else could win, the queen continued. Not with numbers, not with fear, with patience. The images shifted. Alien fleets burning, world saved, treaties signed by defeated empires. And then, she said, you disappeared. Earth is still there, the human said quietly. Yes, the queen replied, but your kind stopped answering. She waved the image away. The mark on your back is called a guardian seal. It was given only to those trusted to end wars, not rule afterward. The human let out a slow breath. So why does everyone look like they want me dead? Because the last time this mark appeared, the Queen said. Entire fleet surrender without firing a shot. Before he could respond, a sharp sound echoed through the palace. An explosion. Not large, but close. The lights flared red. Assassins! A voice shouted through the halls. The Queen turned instantly. They moved faster than expected. The chamber doors slammed shut again. Inside, the human felt the warmth surge. The tattoo burned, not painfully, but urgently. The walls shook as something struck the outer defenses. "Stay behind me," the Queen ordered. The human blinked. "I don't have a weapon." "You are the weapon," she said. The door burst inward. 3 figures rushed in, tall, thin, armored in black. Their blades hummed with energy. The guards outside fell in seconds. The human moved without thinking. He stepped forward. One assassin struck. The human raised his arm. The blade stopped. Not against armor. Against A. The tattoo flared bright. A force slammed outward, throwing the attackers across the room like broken dolls. They hit the walls and did not rise. Silence returned. The glow faded. The human stayed at his hands. "I didn't know I could do that." The Queen looked at him with something new in her eyes. "Respect. And now," she said softly, "the galaxy knows you exist." Far away, in hidden command chambers and deep space fleets, sensors detected the same signal. The Guardian seal had awakened, and war began to move toward the throne world. The palace went into lockdown. Heavy doors sealed. Energy shields rose over the towers. Ships lifted from hidden bays and formed defense lines above the throne world. Alarms did not scream. They whispered. This was not panic. This was fear with memory. The humans stood in a quiet room near the Queen's war chamber. Guards were posted outside, twice as many as before. None of them looked relaxed. Inside, the Queen faced a large star map. Red lights blinked at the edges of the system. "They are coming," she said. The human leaned against the wall. "You keep saying that like it's my fault." "It is not your fault," the Queen replied, "but it is because of you." She turned to face him. "When the signal from your mark spread," she said, "old alliances woke up, old enemies too." He crossed his arms. "You still haven't told me what humans actually did back then." The Queen was silent for a moment. Then she spoke. "Follow me." She led him into a deeper chamber. The air felt colder. The walls were darker. At the center stood a tall crystal column, cracked and dim. "This is a memory core," she said. "It was sealed by order of every major empire." She placed her hand on it. Light burst outward. The room filled with images. Stars. Fleets. Worlds burning, not from destruction, but from battle. "You see war," the Queen said, "but not conquest." The human watched ships move in perfect order. Small human fleets faced much larger alien armadas. The humans did not rush. They waited. They learned. They adapted. They fought only when forced, the Queen continued. And they won. The images changed. Alien leaders knelt. Treaties were signed. Borders redrawn. "Why don't we learn this in school?" the human asked. "Because your kind left," she replied. "And the rest of us were ashamed." The crystal showed the final scenes. Human ships leaving council chambers. Leaving planets. Leaving power behind. They could have ruled, the Queen said quietly. No force could have stopped them. The human frowned. So why didn't they? The Queen looked at him. Because humans feared becoming what they defeated. The images faded. Silence returned. "That mark on your back," she said, "was given to those trusted to end wars quickly and then disappear." The human exhaled slowly. "Sounds like a terrible reward." "It was a heavy one," the Queen agreed. A sharp voice cut in through the room speakers. "Your Majesty, enemy fleets have crossed the outer line." The Queen turned back to the star map. Red lights multiplied. "They are not attacking," an officer said. "They are waiting." "They are afraid," the Queen said. The human stepped closer to the map. "Afraid of what?" "Of confirmation," she replied. "They want to see if you will fight." He shook his head. "I don't even know how." "You already do," the Queen said. Another officer spoke, Voice tense. Your Majesty, several commanders are requesting permission to surrender. The human turned sharply. Surrender? They haven't even fired. That is how it was before. The Queen said. When this mark appeared, wars ended without battles. He stared at the blinking lights. I don't want that kind of power. The Queen studied him. That answer, she said, is exactly why the mark chose you. A sudden flash rippled through the map. One fleet moved forward. An enemy signal broke through. A tall alien figure appeared on the display. Its eyes were sharp. Its armor was marked with ancient scars. We know what walks among you, the figure said. Send the marked human to us. Alone. The room went silent. The human stepped forward. That sounds like a trap. It is, the Queen said, and they expect you to refuse. The figure continued. If you do not comply, we will burn your outer colonies. The human clenched his jaw. The Queen raised her staff. You will not threaten my world. The figure smiled. We are not threatening. We are testing. The signal cut. The human turned to the Queen. You're not actually considering this. I am, she said, but not in the way they expect. She faced the room. Prepare a single ship. Gasps filled the chamber. The human looked at her. You said humans ended wars. Yes, she replied, by showing restraint and certainty. He shook his head. I'm just one person. So were they, the Queen said, every time. The ship was small, unarmed, fast. As the human boarded, soldiers watched in silence. Some bowed. Others looked away, afraid to meet his eyes. He paused at the ramp and looked back. If this goes bad, he said, don't come after me. The Queen met his gaze. If this goes bad, she said, history will remember who tried to stop it. The ship launched. It crossed the dark space between fleets alone. Enemy ships tracked it. Weapons locked, but did not fire. Inside the cockpit, the human felt the warmth again. The mark on his back pulsed, slow and steady. The enemy flagship opened a channel. Human, the voice said, prove the legend is real. The human took a deep breath. I don't know your legends, he said, but I know one thing. Silence followed. Humans don't fight to win, he continued. We fight to end fights. The mark flared. Across the battlefield, systems shut down. Weapons powered off. Shields collapsed, not violently, but cleanly. Fleet after fleet went dark. No explosions, no screams, just stillness. Back on the throne world, the Queen watched the map turn from red to empty. An officer whispered, it's over. The Queen did not smile. She only said, it has begun. Because far beyond the system, other eyes were watching. And they were no longer asking if humans were real. They were asking when humans would return. The human returned to the throne world in silence. No victory music played. No crowds gathered. The sky above the capital was calm, as if nothing had happened. Yet every sensor in the system told the same story. The enemy fleets were gone. Not destroyed. Not chased away. They had simply left. Inside the palace, the council chamber was full. Alien leader generals and advisors stood in long rows. When the human entered, the room fell quiet. Some bowed. Others watched with fear. The Queen sat at the center, her crown glowing softly. She raised one hand, and the door sealed behind him. You ended a war, she said. The human shook his head. I stopped the fight. A murmur spread through the chamber. You did what our strongest fleets could not, a general said. You broke them without firing a shot. The human looked at the floor. I didn't break anyone. The Queen studied him carefully. This is why we cannot let you walk away. She stood and stepped down from the throne. You have shown power, restraint, and mercy, she said. By every law of this empire, that makes you worthy to rule. The chamber erupted in gasps. The Queen lowered her voice. I offer you a seat beside me. Command of fleets. Authority over worlds. Protection beyond measure. All eyes turned to the human. He felt the warmth on his back again, steady and calm. The mark did not glow. It waited. He looked up. No, he said. The chamber froze. A noble step forward. You insult the throne. The human met their gaze. I don't mean to. The queen raised her hand again. Explain. I didn't come here to rule, the human said simply. And I don't want people obeying me because they're afraid of a mark on my skin. The room stirred uneasily. You could bring order to the galaxy, a strategist argued. Order isn't the same as peace, the human replied. The queen watched him in silence. Finally, she nodded once. You refuse power. Yes, he said, but I won't abandon you. She tilted her head slightly. Then what do you offer? The human thought for a moment. Let me stand where fighting happens. Let me protect people when words fail. No throne, no crown. The queen felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest. Relief. She turned to the council. He refuses to rule, but he does not refuse responsibility. Murmurs spread again, this time softer. Before the debate could continue, alarms chimed. A calm voice spoke through the chamber. Training bay breach detected. The queen turned sharply. What? A guard rushed in. Volunteers have gathered. Soldiers. Civilians. They are demanding to train under the human. The human blinked. I didn't ask for that. You didn't need to, the queen said. They moved quickly through the halls. In the vast training bay, hundreds waited. Different species. Different ranks. All eyes turned as the human entered. No one cheered. They simply stood straighter. A tall alien soldier stepped forward. Teach us, they said. I don't know your weapons, the human replied. We know how to fight. Another said. We don't know how to stop fighting. The human felt the mark warm again, not burning, not glowing, just present. All right, he said slowly. We start with something simple. He pointed to the ground. Discipline. Control. Protect the one next to you. The training began, not with weapons, but with movement, awareness, timing. The human corrected stances, showed simple tactics. Nothing fancy, nothing powerful, yet something changed. They learned to trust. Hours later, the queen watched from above. They follow him, an advisor said. He never ordered them to, the queen replied. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A message forced its way onto every screen. A new enemy symbol appeared. Older, sharper, an ancient empire. The queen stiffened. They should be extinct. A voice filled the bay. We have seen the mark awaken, it said, and we remember how the last war ended. The human looked up calmly. We do not seek battle, the voice continued. We seek surrender. The queen clenched her fist. They think fear will welk. The human stepped forward into the open. I won't rule, he said, his voice carrying through the bay. But I won't kneel either. The mark flared once, brief, controlled. The screens flickered. The enemy signal cut. Silence followed. The queen looked at him, truly looked. You stand between throne and battlefield, she said. He nodded. Someone has to. She turned to the council and spoke clearly. From this day, she declared, the guardian walks free. No crown, no chains. The chamber echoed with quiet agreement. That night, alone in his quarters, the human sat on the edge of his bed. He touched the tattoo once more. For the first time, it felt lighter. But far away, in the dark between stars, ancient powers adjusted their plans. Because the human had refused the throne. And that made him far more dangerous. The first attack did not come with noise. It came with silence. Across the outer colonies, ships lost contact. Defense stations went dark. Trade routes emptied as if the stars themselves had pulled away. The ancient empire did not announce war. It removed choice. In the palace war chamber, the star map filled with shadows. They are cutting us off, an officer said. No warning. No demands. The queen stood at the center, calm but rigid. They are forcing panic. The human stood beside her, hands resting on the table. He felt the mark on his back grow warm, slow and steady, like a heartbeat. They want us to react, he said. Yes, the queen replied. And when we do, they will call it justification. A message broke through. A planet on the edge of the system. Civilian population. No fleet nearby. They are landing, a commander said. Not to occupy, to scare. The human straightened. Send me. The room went still. You are not an army, a general said. I don't need to be, the human replied. Send one transport. Light escort. No heavy weapons. The queen looked at him. You will not go alone, she said. Murmurs spread. I am not asking, she continued. I am deciding. Moments later, the transport cut through space toward the threatened world. Small, fast, unmarked. On the surface below, civilians gathered in shelters. The sky burned with strange ships, sharp and black, hovering low. The transport landed hard. The ramp dropped. The human stepped out first. Then the queen. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She wore no crown, no throne robes, only light armor and her staff. She came, someone whispered. The ancient empire's soldiers moved in perfect lines. Tall, armored, emotionless. Their leader stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly. You bring your ruler to beg, it asked. The queen did not answer. The human stepped forward instead. We're here to stop this, he said simply. The leader laughed. You stand behind a queen now. The human shook his head. She stand behind me. The queen took one step closer. Just one. The mark flared, soft, controlled. The ground trembled as systems across the enemy force hesitated. Not failed. Hesitated. The leader's smile faded. You think restraint makes you strong. No, the human replied. It makes us careful. The first shot came from the enemy side. Not aimed at the human. At a shelter. The human moved. He did not run toward the attackers. He ran toward the civilians. The mark burned hot. A field formed around the shelter just as a blast hit. The shockwave rolled outward, knocking soldiers, friend and enemy alike, off their feet. The queen raised her staff. Protect the people, she ordered. Her soldiers obeyed instantly. The battle was short, not because the enemy was weak, because the human did not fight to win. He fought to end it. Every time an enemy advanced, their systems shut down. Every time they aimed at civilians, their weapons locked. No explosions, no glory, only control. The leader fell to one knee, armor flickering. This is impossible, it hissed. The human stood before it, breathing hard. No, he said, this is familiar. The leader looked up slowly. Your kind swore never to return. We didn't, the human replied. We just stopped chasing power. The enemy ships lifted off, retreating without another word. Silence fell over the world. Civilians stepped out into the open, staring. The queen walked to the human side. For the first time in centuries, she lowered her head, not in surrender, but in respect. You chose lives over victory, she said. He nodded. Always. Back on the throne world, news spread fast. The queen had stood behind a human, on a battlefield. Not above him, not in safety. Behind him, allies took notice. So did enemies. In the council chamber, a message arrived from multiple systems at once. They are mobilizing, an advisor said. Not to attack, to prepare. For what? The queen asked. The human answered quietly. For a galaxy where humans don't rule, but don't hide either. That night, as the human sat alone cleaning dust from his boots, the mark on his back pulsed once, gentle, steady. It was not warning him. It was reminding him. The queen stood at the doorway. You could still take the throne, she said softly. He didn't turn around. If I did, this would all break. She smiled faintly. Then stay where you are. He nodded. Far away, ancient councils met in secret. Old weapons were checked. Old fears were spoken aloud, because the galaxy had seen it clearly now. Not a human king, not a human conqueror, but a human standing between power and people. And that scared them more than war ever had. The galaxy did not sleep. Messages crossed the stars faster than fleets. Old alliances reopened sealed channels. Ancient empires dusted off weapons that had not been powered on in generations. No one attacked. No one trusted the silence. On the throne world, the humans stood alone in a quiet chamber beneath the palace. The room was old, older than the throne. The walls were marked with symbols worn smooth by time. At the center of the floor was a circular platform, dark and unlit. The queen entered without guards. "This place was built for you," she said. The human looked around. "Feels like a trap." She smiled faintly. "It was for something like you." She gestured to the platform. "Stand there." He hesitated, then stepped onto it. The floor came alive. Light rose around him, slow and soft. Not blinding, not harsh. The mark on his back warmed, then pulsed in time with the light. "What is this?" he asked. "The truth," the queen replied. The walls changed. Images appeared clearer than before. Human figures. Not soldiers. Not kings. Guardians. They were chosen, the queen said. Not by birth. Not by blood. By choice. The human watched scenes of humans stepping between warring fleets. Standing unarmed before weapons. Ending battles with words, systems, and restraint. They carried the mark, she continued, but the mark did not control them. The image shifted. A guardian fell. The mark flared violently. The light in the chamber flickered. When a guardian died in anger, the queen said quietly, the mark reacted. The image showed devastation. Not conquest, but loss of control. The human swallowed. "So the mark is dangerous." "Yes," she said. "By design." The platform dimmed slightly. "The mark is not a weapon," the queen continued. "It is a lock." The human frowned. "A lock on what?" She looked at him directly. "On humanity." The words settled heavily. "Your kind has instincts," she said. "Not cruelty, not bloodlust, but something worse." "Resolve," the human said slowly. The queen nodded. "Once humans decide something must end," she said, "you do not stop." The images changed again. Human guardians walking away from battlefields, turning off the mark, leaving power behind. "The mark limits that instinct," she said. "It allows just enough force. No more." The human clenched his fists. "And if it breaks?" The queen was silent. The platform brightened suddenly. A sharp pain shot across the human's back. Not injury, but pressure. The mark flared brighter than ever before. Alarms echoed faintly through distant halls. The queen stiffened. "They are testing you." Across the galaxy, multiple fleets powered up weapons at once. Not firing, charging. A message broke through. "Show us," a chorus of voices said. "Show us what happens when the lock opens." The human breathed slowly. "They want me to lose control." "Yes," the queen replied, "because then they can justify destroying you." The pressure increased. The human fell to one knee. The images around him changed rapidly. War, loss, fear, civilians screaming. He felt anger rise. Then he felt the mark resist. He forced himself to stand. "No," he said through clenched teeth. "That's not who we are." The queen stepped closer, placing her hand on the edge of the platform. "You must choose," she said. Every guardian had to. The human closed his eyes. He thought of the shelter, the civilians, the queen standing behind him. He exhaled. The pressure eased. The light softened. The mark dimmed. Across the galaxy, weapons powered down one by one. The message cut off. Silence returned. The human slumped, exhausted. The queen helped him off the platform. "Now you know," she said. "The final truth." He nodded slowly. "Humans weren't hiding." "No," she replied. "You were protecting everyone else from yourselves." Later, in the war chamber, advisors spoke in hushed tones. "They saw it," one said, "the restraint." "They also saw the limit," another replied. The queen looked at the human. "They will keep pushing." He met her gaze. "Then I'll keep choosing." She inclined her head. That is why the mark remained stable. Outside the palace, the sky was calm again. But deep in space, ancient empires adjusted their plans. not to attack, to provoke, because they had learned something dangerous. The mark did not make humans powerful. Choice did, and that meant the galaxy's future rested on a single, fragile thing. A human deciding when enough was enough. The galaxy waited, not in peace. In balance, fleets stayed at a careful distance from one another. Borders held, not because of treaties, but because everyone was watching the same thing. The human. On the throne world, life slowly returned to normal. Markets reopened. Ships launched. Children played beneath skies that had almost burned. The human did not stay in the palace. He moved between worlds. Not as a ruler, not as a threat, as a reminder. Where tension rose, he arrived quietly. Where fear spread, he listened. The mark on his back stayed dark, resting. The queen ruled as she always had, but differently now. She spoke less of power and more of responsibility. When advisors argued for force, she asked a simple question. Had we tried restraint? They remembered who taught her that. One day, in a small system far from the throne world, a crisis came. Two empires faced each other over a lifeless moon. Weapons charged. Old hatred surfaced. No civilians were present, but war would spread fast. The human ship arrived alone. Both fleets tracked it. A channel opened. "You have no authority here," an admiral said. The human nodded. "I know." "Then leave." He didn't. He stood in the open bay of his ship, unarmed, visible to both sides. The mark warmed. Not burning, not glowing, waiting. "I won't tell you what to do," he said. "I'll tell you what happens next." Silence followed. "If you fire," he continued, "you'll win this fight, and start the next one, and the next." Weapons hummed louder. "If you don't," he said, "nothing changes a day, and that's rare." A long pause. One ship powered down. Then another. The moon remained empty. The human left without celebration. Back on the throne world, the queen watched the report in silence. "They listened to him," an advisor said. "They listened to themselves," she replied. Time passed. Stories spread. Not exaggerated ones. Quiet ones. About a human who never raised his voice. About a mark that never glowed unless it had to. About wars that ended before they began. Children on distant worlds played games where they stood between arguing friends and said, "Enough." The queen met the human one last time in the throne hall. Not as ruler and subject, as equals. "They want to build statues," she said. He smiled faintly. "Please don't." "They will write history," she added. "They always do," he replied. "Just make sure they write why." She studied him. "Will you ever remove the mark?" He shook his head. "It's not mine to remove." She nodded. "What will you do now?" she asked. He looked toward the stars beyond the hole. "Keep walking," he said, "so no one forgets what choice looks like." They stood in silence. Then the queen did something no one expected. She stepped back and bowed, not to power, to restraint. The human left the palace that day with no escort, no crown, no command, just a quiet ship in a galaxy watching. Years later, long after fleets had changed and borders had softened, historians would struggle to name the era. It was not an age of conquest, not an age of peace. They called it the pause, the time when the galaxy learned that the strongest force was not domination, it was refusal. And at the center of every record, every lesson, every careful decision, there was one simple truth. Humans were never weak. They were never gone. They were waiting until the galaxy was ready to be protected from itself.